The statues you see in this video were sculpted in Rome by the American sculptor Peter Rockwell. Sculpted in his favorite stone of Vicenza limestone, they were inspired by two important passages from the Art of Poetry, Ars Poetica, of the Roman writer Horace. This was Horace's longest and perhaps most influential poem. My name is Bernard Fischer. I commissioned the statues from Peter in 1989 because he was famous for his depictions of monsters of all kinds, and I was writing a book about the Ars Poetica. The idea on which my book was based is that the art of poetry offered not Horace's own sincerely held beliefs about poetry, but the parody of the stale ideas about poetry presented by an inept and cantankerous critic. The book, published in 1991, is called Shifting Paradigms. You can still purchase it from Oxford University Press. What we are looking at now is the Ars Poetica monster described in the very opening lines of the poem. It exploits the rhetorical trope of the adunaton, the impossibility. In the passage, the speaker ridicules a painter who would try to depict something impossible, a monster with, to quote him, the head of a woman, the neck of a horse, the wings of a bird, and the tail of a fish. The speaker of the poem says that only a mad painter could conceive of such a thing, implicitly suggesting that nothing similar was to be found in the work of contemporary artists. I showed that, in fact, when Horace was writing, artists of the day were engaged in what we today call the late second style of fresco painting, in which it was precisely the ability to invent ever new kinds of monsters that could make your reputation. As you see, the preserved house of Horace's friend, the Emperor Augustus, had such paintings, as did the so-called Villa Farnesina, where it is thought that Augustus's political ally and son-in-law Agrippa had his impressive residence in the city of Rome. I argued that right from the start, the speaker of the Ars Poetica reveals his incompetence as a critic and his ignorance of the state of contemporary art. I challenged Peter to make a statue with the features that Horace's speaker claimed no one could successfully combine into a harmonious whole. The point was to show that the speaker was wrong. A talented monster artist like Peter Rockwell could easily pull it off today, and I think he did. I hope you agree. And the implication was that an artist in Horace's day could have done so as well. The mask, grasped by the monster's front paws, has two functions. It provides the opening for water, the statue is, after all, a fountain, and it depicts the poem's inept speaker. The two functions are complementary, given the ancient metaphor of poetry as a stream. Peter's statue conveys the idea that the Ars Poetica monster is a figment of the demented imagination of the mad critic. The second statue takes the form of a herm depicting the poetaster described later in the Ars Poetica, where the speaker says that because the philosopher Democritus claimed that all great poets are mad, even bad poets, poetasters, try to appear crazy by, to quote him, never going to the barber, never cutting their fingernails, and never taking a bath. Our herm shows this bad poet with disheveled hair and holding up one hand to his breast. If you look closely, you can see that he has very long fingernails. Once again, the ugly theatrical mask is set below and functions as a fountain, but also as a depiction of the poem's speaker. It is no accident that one statue is male and the other female. In a sense, the statues were also caricatures of the people who commissioned them, me and my wife, classicist Jane Crawford. Stylistically, I asked Peter to be inspired by the sculptures in the fantastic monster park of Bomarzo. The fact that the statues function also as fountains is a reference to the fountain statues of the Villa d'Este in Tivoli, another one of our favorite gardens in the hinterland of Rome. The statues were originally installed in 1991 on two sides of our swimming pool in Los Angeles. When we moved to Charlottesville, Virginia in 2004, they were crated and shipped to our house there. It did not have a suitable spot for the display of the statues, so they remained in storage in our garage. And Peter was very upset about that. Now we live in a home on a large pond in Bloomington, Indiana, where there is an ideal place to erect the statues as part of a fountain designed by David Watts of Designscape. David knows Bomarzo quite well. His parents have a vacation home in Bagnoregio near Orvieto, so he has visited Bomarzo and also Villa d'Este many times. Peter Rockwell was able to come to LA in 1991 for the celebration of the installation of the statues. Unfortunately, he died in 2020, so he could not see their reinstallation. Jane and I miss him and his wonderful wife, Cindy, very, very much.